It was supposed to be light, a smart audience, a sharp host, a prince with a story he's told 100 times before. Jordan Kerr smiled the way he always does, half curiosity, half mischief. Prince Harry nodded, ready, composed, practiced. No one in the studio realized that within minutes, humor would turn into pressure, that jokes would start landing a little too close to the truth, and that by the end of the night, one of them would still be smiling. The Daily Show studio buzzed with its usual energy, warm lights, muted applause, the familiar hum of a crowd that trusted the format. Jordan Kerr sat at the desk, cards neatly stacked, posture relaxed. He wore the same expression he always did when a guest walked out from behind the curtain, friendly, open, disarming. Prince Harry stepped into the light to polite applause. He smiled, waved briefly, and took his seat across from Jordan. Navy suit, open collar, carefully casual. He looked calm, maybe even relieved. This wasn't a hostile environment. This wasn't a courtroom interview or a tabloid ambush. This was comedy. This was safe. Jordan leaned forward slightly. "Prince Harry," he said, extending a hand. "Or is it just Harry now? I never know where the branding landed." Laughter rippled through the audience. Harry chuckled. "Just Harry is fine," he replied. "I left the titles behind." Jordan nodded thoughtfully. "Right, traveled very light." Another laugh. Harry smiled again, though this time it lingered a fraction of a second too long. Jordan shuffled his cards. "You've been very open lately about your family, your experiences, your struggles, mental health, privacy, identity, big topics." Harry straightened slightly. This was familiar territory. He'd said these words before, almost verbatim, on multiple continents. "I think it's important," Harry said. "For too long, people like me were told to stay silent. I don't want to live that way anymore." Jordan tilted his head, genuinely attentive. "That makes sense. Silence can be heavy." Harry nodded, encouraged. Jordan continued, "But what's interesting is you didn't just leave the monarchy. The monarchy followed you. Podcasts, interviews, documentaries, books. It's almost like you escaped, but with receipts." The audience laughed softly, not harsh, not cruel. Harry smiled again, though this time his eyes didn't. "Well," he said, measured, "when your life has been controlled by an institution, telling your story becomes an act of reclaiming it." Jordan nodded. "Totally. Although most people reclaim their story with a therapist, you chose global distribution." The laughter was louder this time. Harry shifted in his chair, barely noticeable, but Jordan noticed. "Do you ever worry?" Jordan asked casually. "That telling the story over and over might keep you tied to the very thing you're trying to escape." Harry inhaled through his nose. He'd heard versions of this question before, but never phrased quite like that. Not wrapped in humor, not delivered so gently. "I don't see it that way," Harry replied. "I see it as helping others who don't have a voice." Jordan smiled. "Right, the voiceless. You and your Netflix deal." A few audience members gasped before laughing. It was quick, instinctive. Harry laughed too, but it sounded thinner now. "Look," Harry said, leaning forward, hands clasped. "I didn't choose the position I was born into, but I can choose what I do with it." Jordan nodded slowly. "That's true, although most people don't get to choose between being born into a palace or not." The studio went quieter, not silent, but attentive. Harry's jaw tightened slightly. He uncrossed his hands, then crossed them again. Jordan sensed the shift, but didn't pull back. He never did. "I guess what I'm asking," Jordan said, voice still light, "is whether freedom feels different when you leave with security, status, and an international media platform." Harry's smile faded. Not dramatically, not yet. Just enough to be noticeable. "Freedom isn't about money," Harry said firmly. "It's about not being controlled." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Of course, although most people are controlled by rent." A sharper laugh cut through the room. Harry exhaled. "I think you're oversimplifying something very complex." Jordan held up a hand. "That's fair. I'm a comedian. Oversimplifying is sort of my superpower." The audience laughed again, but this time Harry didn't. He leaned back in his chair, shoulders sly, stiff, eyes fixed on Jordan. The warmth from earlier had cooled. The conversation hadn't turned hostile, but something had shifted. Jordan glanced down at his cards, then back up. "Let's talk about responsibility," he said. Harry's expression hardened just a touch, and for the first time since he'd walked onto the stage, he looked less like a guest and more like someone preparing to defend himself. Jordan Kerr set his cards down. He didn't need them anymore. The room had shifted. The laughter was still there, but thinner now, hesitant, cautious. The audience could feel it. This wasn't just a segment anymore. Something had tilted. Jordan leaned forward slightly. You use the word control, he said, a lot. The palace controlled you, the press controlled you, expectations controlled you. Harry nodded, because that's what happened. Jordan smiled, but this time the smile carried less comedy and more curiosity. So, who controls you now? A brief silence rippled through the studio. Harry didn't answer immediately. He studied Jordan, eyes steady, calculating. No one, he said finally. Jordan tilted his head. Really? Harry's jaw tightened. Yes, Jordan raised an eyebrow. Because from the outside, it looks like you escaped one system and stepped into another. A low murmur moved through the crowd. Harry leaned forward in his chair. That's not fair. Jordan didn't flinch. Why not? Because you're pretending this is simple, Harry snapped. As if walking away from everything you've ever own is some kind of branding decision. Jordan held up a hand. I'm not saying it's simple. I'm asking whether you ever decided not to tell part of the story. The audience reacted. Soft gasps, a few nervous laughs. Harry's eyes narrowed. It's my story. Jordan nodded. Of course. But when every chapter gets released publicly, it stops being private. Harry exhaled sharply. So now I'm being accused of profiting from my own trauma. Jordan responded calmly. I'm asking if the line between healing and performance ever gets blurry. That landed harder. Harry shifted in his seat. His voice didn't rise, but it hardened. You don't get to decide how I heal. Jordan didn't interrupt. He let the silence stretch. I agree, Jordan said, but you invited the world into the process. Harry's fingers tapped against his knee, small, controlled, but unmistakable. For my entire life, Harry said, people spoke for me. They decided what I was allowed to say, feel, admit. I'm done with that. Jordan leaned back slightly. And now I speak for myself. Jordan nodded slowly. Then let me ask you something directly. Harry looked at him, guarded. Do you think Americans see you as someone who escaped power or someone who still benefits from it? The question cut clean. Harry shook his head. That's a false choice. Is it? Jordan asked. Harry's tone sharpened. You're framing me as privileged before you even listen. Jordan responded evenly. Privilege doesn't cancel pain, but pain doesn't erase privilege either. The studio was silent now. Harry leaned in. So, what do you want from me? An apology for being born? Jordan smiled faintly. No. Accountability for the platform you still stand on. Harry laughed once, short, humorless. Accountability? I've been held accountable my entire life. Jordan met his gaze. Then why does every question feel like an attack? Harry's eyes flashed. Because it is one. Jordan paused for the first time. His voice lost its playful edge. No, he said quietly. It's discomfort. Harry stared at him. Jordan continued. Discomfort happens when the story doesn't go the way you planned. A few people in the audience shifted in their seats. Harry spoke slowly now, carefully. I didn't come here to be psychoanalyzed. Jordan nodded. And I didn't invite you to be warped. That line hit like a dropped plate. Harry straightened, shoulders squared. You think this is clever, he said. But you're doing exactly what you accuse others of, reducing me to a symbol. Jordan shook his head. I'm doing the opposite. I'm asking who you are without the symbol. Harry opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, he had no answer. Jordan leaned forward again, softer now. Because right now, he said, every time the symbol gets questioned, you take it personally. Harry's expression darkened. Careful, he said. You're crossing a line. Jordan didn't smile this time. Or maybe, he replied. We finally reached it. The lights felt hotter, the air heavier, and for the first time that night it was clear. This wasn't going to end with a joke. Jordan Kerr didn't rush to speak. That alone unsettled Harry. The pause stretched just long enough to feel intentional, like Jordan was deciding whether to joke, probe, or push. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. You just said I crossed the line, Jordan said. I want to understand where that line is. Harry folded his hands together tight. The line is when you stop asking questions, he replied, and start judging. Jordan nodded slowly. Okay, let's test that. He leaned forward again. Do you believe the media owes you gentleness? A ripple went through the audience. Harry scoffed. That's absurd. Jordan raised a finger. Not respect, not fairness, gentleness. Harry's eyes hardened. I believe the media owes everyone basic humanity. Jordan smiled slightly. And yet, you seem most upset when you don't get it. Harry leaned back. This is exactly the problem. You're framing me as entitled because I refuse to be attacked. Jordan shook his head. No, I'm framing you as defensive because you don't tolerate resistance. That word resistance hit a nerve. Harry laughed louder this time. You think this is resistance? This is theater. Jordan's smile vanished, then stopped performing. The studio went completely still. Harry blinked. Excuse me. Jordan didn't look away. If this is theater, then you're playing a role, and roles can be challenged. Harry's voice sharpened. You invited me here under the pretense of conversation, not confrontation. Jordan replied instantly. Conversation includes disagreement. Harry leaned forward, pointing subtly. No, conversation includes respect, and you lost that the moment you decided I was a problem to be dissected. Jordan exhaled. You're not a problem. You're a contradiction. That landed harder than any joke so far. Harry's jaw clenched. I left my country because I refused to live as a contradiction. Jordan responded evenly. And yet you built a new life entirely around explaining it. A few audience members audibly gasped. Harry's tone dropped. Dangerous now. Controlled. Cold. You think I enjoy this? Jordan answered honestly. I think you need it. Silence. Harry stared at him. Need what? The attention, Jordan said. The validation, the control of the narrative. Harry stood up slightly in his seat, then settled back down. You're projecting? He snapped. Jordan nodded maybe, but projections usually reflect something. Harry laughed again, bitter. You're unbelievable. Jordan didn't flinch. And you're unchallenged. That was it. Harry leaned forward fully now. You have no idea what it's like to grow up hunted, watched, defined before you ever spoke. Jordan replied quietly. You're right. But neither do most people watching you. Harry spread his hands. Then maybe they shouldn't judge. Jordan countered immediately. Then maybe you shouldn't sell the story to them. The audience erupted, half applause, half shock. Harry turned toward the crowd, incredulous. You hear this? Jordan raised a hand, signaling calm, but it was too late. This is exactly why people don't trust media anymore, Harry said. You bait, you provoke, and then you hide behind satire. Jordan's voice sharpened. And this is why people don't trust power, because the moment it's questioned, it cries betrayal. Harry stood up. Not fully, but enough. Are you done? He asked. Jordan looked up at him. Depends. Are you finished being offended? Harry's eyes burned. I came here in good faith, Jordan replied. Then stop treating every challenge like an ambush. Harry shook his head slowly. You're enjoying this. Jordan paused, then answered honestly. I'm enjoying the truth surfacing. Harry grabbed the arms of his chair. This is not journalism. Jordan met his stare. Neither is silence. The tension was suffocating now. Harry leaned in one last time. You think this makes you brave? Jordan replied quietly. No, I think it makes you uncomfortable. Harry straightened up fully now. Then congratulations, he said. Mission accomplished. He looked toward the exit. The audience froze. Jordan watched him carefully. Walking away, Harry turned back once. No, he said. I'm choosing not to stay where I'm not respected. Jordan nodded slowly. Funny, he said. That's exactly what you accuse everyone else of. Harry didn't answer. He simply stepped back. And for the first time that night, it was clear. The next move wouldn't be a sentence. It would be an exit. The studio didn't move. Not the audience. Not the crew. Not even Jordan. Prince Harry stood there halfway between his chair and the exit. His body stiff, his face locked into a practiced expression that no longer worked, the kind of expression meant to signal dignity, but now looked like retreat. Jordan Klepper broke the silence first. Before you go, he said calmly, I want to ask you one last thing. Harry didn't turn back. Jordan continued anyway. You often talk about escaping control, but tonight, this moment, this is the first time you haven't had it. Harry slowly turned around. His smile was gone now. You think this is about control? Harry said. This is about boundaries. Jordan nodded. Then let's talk about them. He leaned back in his chair. Your boundary seems to be don't question me unless I approve the question. Harry laughed sharply. That's a gross misrepresentation, Jordan replied, then corrected. Harry exhaled hard. I've spent my entire life being reduced to headlines, caricatures, jokes, Jordan cut in gently, and now you're angry because you don't get to write this one. That was the moment Harry's composure cracked. Not explosively, but visibly. You don't understand, Harry said, his voice louder now. I didn't ask to be born into this. I didn't ask to become a symbol. Jordan responded quietly. But you keep choosing to be one, the audience murmured. Harry shook his head. You think I enjoy reliving trauma on television? Jordan didn't hesitate. I think you've learned how to monetize it. Gasps filled the room. Harry stepped forward. That is disgusting. Jordan stayed seated. Then why do you keep selling the same pain to different platforms? Harry's breathing became audible. You're crossing a line, he warned. Jordan met his gaze. You keep saying that, but you never say where the line is. Harry raised his voice. The line is respect. Jordan answered evenly. Respect doesn't mean immunity. Harry turned toward the audience. You see what's happening here? Jordan looked at them too. Yes. They're watching someone who demands empathy but rejects accountability. Harry spun back. I don't owe you accountability, Jordan replied softly. Then stop asking the public for understanding. That hit harder than anything else. Harry stood completely upright now, chest rising, jaw tight. This is exactly why people walk away from these platforms, he said. You claim to care, but you feed on conflict. Jordan nodded. Conflict reveals truth, Harry snapped. No, it creates spectacle, Jordan replied, only if someone performs. Silence. Harry stared at him. You're enjoying humiliating me, he said. Jordan shook his head. No, I'm watching you unravel because someone finally didn't applaud. Harry's voice trembled, not with sadness but with fury. You think this makes you clever? Jordan answered. No, I think it makes you human, Harry scoffed. Then why does it feel like an ambush? Jordan leaned forward, voice firm now. Because for once the room isn't built around protecting you. The words landed like concrete. Harry paused. Then he laughed, short, hollow. You know what? He said. I don't need this, Jordan replied calmly. That's the first honest thing you've said tonight. Harry reached for his jacket. I came here to have a conversation, he said, not to be lectured by a comedian. Jordan stood up for the first time, and I didn't come here to babysit power. Harry froze. Jordan continued, voice steady. You've spent years telling the world how suffocating your position was. Tonight someone took it away, and you couldn't breathe. The audience erupted. Some applause, some shock, some stunned silence. Harry shook his head slowly. This is beneath me, he muttered. Jordan answered, Then why does it bother you so much? That was it. Harry turned toward the exit. No final speech, no dramatic pause, just footsteps. As he walked off, the cameras followed for a moment, then cut back to Jordan. The studio was frozen. Jordan exhaled, looked into the camera, and spoke the line that would replay everywhere by morning. Power isn't proven by walking away from criticism, he said. It's proven by staying when you can't control the room. The lights dimmed. The audience sat in stunned silence. And somewhere backstage a door slammed. Prince Harry had left the building, and for the first time that night, the story was no longer his to tell. If this confrontation caught you off guard, imagine what happens when the cameras aren't rolling. Whose side were you on, Harry's, or the one asking the hard quest? Ions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you felt the tension, and subscribe for more unfiltered clashes where power meets truth. Because sometimes the most revealing moment is when someone walks